announcements. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Miss Bonnie.
Inman,
Here and at the appropriate chair.
Lathrop,
I'm here.
Lemko,
Here.
Rennie,
Present.
Thomas,
Here.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Max Bauer.
Here. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our February 5th meeting.
Madam Chairman, will make a motion to approve the May 7, 2014 regular session minutes of Public Health and Safety. I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Inman, supported by Dr. Lathrop. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. This is our first opportunity for public comment. Bonnie, if you would, please.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4 Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
At this time, please step forward.
You're going to gang up on us.
Yes, they are. A formidable team.
Hello, my name is Marcia Johnson. I'm with the Commission on Aging Office Specialist there, and I'm here to do a recap on our NMC barbecue that we participate every year, and we deliver meals to seniors in the Grand Traverse County area. So a lot of people don't know some of the things that we do over there, so we wanted to share some. We served 359 seniors this year. I had 40 volunteers working with me. 3 of them were on this part of the COA board. I had 15 Grand Traverse County employees, and 9 of them were from the COA staff. Out of all those volunteers, we had 23 drivers, and 17 worked in the kitchen and helped package up all the meals. So we start from scratch. We package up all the meals in traveling containers. We wrap everything and get it all ready, and then we package them in like sack lunches, and then we give them to the drivers and send them out. So just wanted to let everybody know that, and also to let everybody know that they go as far as Interlaken, Carlin, they go out to Old Mission Peninsula, Williamsburg, Whitewater Township, East Bay Township, so Fife Lake, Kingsley, so they go all over the place. So it's a really big job. I couldn't do it without my volunteers, and in fact, Bonnie and her husband were one of my drivers. Wow. So it really means a lot to me that all the volunteers that help, and it's a big project, and I think it's great for our community. So thank you.
Good job.
And I just want to add that Marcia coordinated everything, and she did a fabulous job. This was her 2nd year, and it went very smoothly.
All right.
One more
Georgia?
thing. I want to introduce our new Deputy Director, Laura Green.
Georgia, introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, Georgia Durga, Director, Grand Traverse County Commission on Aging. And I'm introducing Laura Green, our new Deputy Director. She comes to us from Sylvan Learning, and prior to that, she worked for the Area Agency on Aging in Virginia called Bay Aging. So she comes with a lot of experience and worked with seniors, so we're very happy to have her, and I want to welcome her. So that's it. Short. Do you want to say anything?
Thank you, Georgia. I just want to share with you that I'm very honored to be the candidate that was chosen to join the Commission on Aging as the Deputy Director. I will have been there 3 weeks tomorrow, and we've jumped in, a lot going on and hitting the ground running, but it's a great team, and it's really going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to continuing to do the great job with the team that I have. And Chris and, of course, Larry have done a great job. I've seen them several times already in our multiple meetings. So thank you for your time.
Thank you and welcome. Is there anyone else that has public comment? Supervisor Korn.
Good evening. Chuck Korn, Garfield Township. You have an item on your agenda tonight about a tax tribunal. Most of you were on the board in the past when there was a lot of whining about settling, but I thank you for the idea that you would like to step in and help when there's something that's in dispute over $5 million, which is what this is. A couple of you are new to the board. Just to assure you, we've always been interested in fair and equitable appraisals. When somebody gets a break and another person doesn't, those of us who don't get a break pay more than our share. We have a policy, I believe it was 5 million was the figure, but maybe you can refresh my memory.
11 million.
Well, I mean, that was the policy was if it was a
Right, okay,
a
if it's
dispute
more
over
than,
more than 5 million. So you're not going to be involved in every little fight that comes up in every municipality. And I appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Patrick Cudney, the District Coordinator with Michigan State University Extension, resident of Long Lake Township. I'm using the public comment opportunity tonight to introduce our newest Provost-appointed MSU Extension staff member to the Grand Traverse County office. Her name is Sarah Eichberger. Sarah's been with us an entire week and a half at this point. We were thrilled to hire Sarah into our health and nutrition educational programs. She works on our disease prevention management work group at the statewide level. This is a brand new position to District 3, a brand new position up in Northwest Michigan that we've been hoping to get for some time. We've hired Sarah. She's originally from the area, has been working over for University of Minnesota Cooperative Extension in similar work, and we were thrilled that we were able to find Sarah. And I'll defer the rest of my time to her.
Hi, thank you. As Patrick said, I grew up in Grand Traverse and Benzie County, and I have not been here since I was 18. And so I'm getting reacquainted with the area and the community. I left after high school to go to Michigan State University, where I obtained a degree in dietetics. So I'm a registered dietitian. I worked in Chicago and Minneapolis and obtained a master's in public health nutrition with the focus on health disparities from the School of Public Health. So I returned to the region to live and work and serve the community in which I was raised, and excited to be in this role with MSU Extension. I'm based in the Health and Nutrition Institute, as Patrick said, working in disease prevention and management, where our work is focused on prevention and reduction of incidence of chronic disease and side effects of those illnesses through application of best practices. Thank you.
Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Michael Estes, 1023 Nakoma Drive, Traverse City, Michigan. On your agenda tonight, but this will not be the first time that we are discussing the issue of housing. I'm delighted to hear that the county has been very responsible in dealing with the issues of housing. The city has long tried to address the issue, sometimes I think as a lone ranger, but your actions tonight, if you agree to proceed with them, will really get the county involved in this huge issue that affects us all. And again, I think this is really a first step for what's going to be involved. You've probably read in the paper that this has been under discussion with members of your board for some time, and I'm very encouraged by the actions you will be taking tonight and in the future to ensure that we address housing on a regional basis here in the Grand Traverse community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Estes. Anyone else? Seeing none, we will move on. I would entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
Madam
I
Chairman,
think there's some agenda items that we're going to add.
There are.
The judge? You want us just to add your report on the agenda?
Estes. I've been coming to these meetings for 14 years now, and I asked you to put the district court up because I need to get home. My wife has a serious health issue.
Oh, certainly.
I might suggest we put it on special orders of business, and items under number 7.
All righty. With that addition.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Lemkool, supported by Commissioner Wheelock. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next on our agenda is consent calendar. Bonnie?
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single committee action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. Number 1, Community Corrections Reports, April. Number 2, Commission on Aging Report, April. B, approval. Number 1, approval to submit grant application renewal.
Okay.
It's short.
It is. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Does anybody want to pull it? Any items pulled?
Does anyone want to pull any items from the consent calendar? Commissioner Rennie?
A2.
A2. Anyone else? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I would move to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item A2.
All right. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Roll call.
Roll call, thank you.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Lemkool,
Yep.
Rennie,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yep.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Inman,
Yes.
Max Bauer.
Yes. Next, special order of business. Your Honor, you're up.
Thank you. We're here today asking for a FTE increase from a .4 position to a full FTE. This is the district court requesting it on behalf of the 13th Circuit Community Corrections Board, which is a kind of a historical situation because they are under our umbrella sort of, but they are the 13th Circuit Court. And I've been told, I've not spoken to the circuit judges, but I've been told that they're in favor of this as well. And I think this is a good thing, and the district judges are in favor of it as well. And I think we'll have the specifics presented by Sri Shively, who is our community correction head. So please go forward.
Good evening, Sri Shively, Manager of Community Corrections. What we are asking for is, upon the retirement of Greg Summers, who's finally going to retire for the third time in July, his position is a .4, and we're asking that to be increased to a full-time position. The reason that we are asking this is for several reasons, but the first I would like to point out is we're not asking the county for any funds. We have revenue sources that we get that can fund this, and Dean has some of those figures if you need some of those. But so we're not asking for any tax dollars to do this. We, over the last several years, have increased some different programs that we offer to the community and to offenders that we service. One of those is community service work, and we provide countless hours and hours to the communities in Grand Traverse, Antrim, and Leelanau through that. And because of that, it requires staff members to oversee those folks for community service. We have also, probably in the last year and a half, started offering an in-home breathalyzer unit to the offenders that are in the 3-county area. And that has just, I would say, exploded, the use for that. It's very convenient for folks. They don't have to miss work. We can actually tailor the breathalyzers and things like that to work around their jobs. The units are small, little handheld things, but all of those, they require manpower to do them. Those two things are very large revenues for our department. Just We also have, these are the revenue sources that we have, the breathalyzers, the community service work, and we do house arrest with offenders with either a GPS or a phone tether system, and those are our revenue sources. In the last 17 months, so for all of 2013 and this of 2014, we have over $185,000 in revenue, minus all of our expenses. We use some of those dollars for counseling for our transitional houses, so that's not just what's left over, but we have increased just this last year $60,000 in our revenue. That's specifically mostly from our in-home PVTs. It's really a good source for us. One of the things that we have found in the last probably year and a half, when we send somebody to residential treatment through circuit court and through district court, for the first 6 years of my job here, we drove them over to Dikoski. It was very simple, took 15 minutes, dropped them off. Dikoski would even come pick them up. Because of the way that they're structuring their treatment now, we went from having about almost 10 beds a day there that we could fill to down to 2. And as of right now, we can't even place anybody there unless they are funded through a block grant or Medicaid through the state. So Community Corrections has funding to provide that, but they're not accepting that because it is so drastically much lower. NMSAS funding through Medicaid and a block grant is $215 a day. The state reimburses them $48.50 a day. So dollars and cents, it doesn't make sense for them to take our folks. So what that's meant is we now have to drive our people all throughout the state to take them to treatment. We have to take them up to Sault Ste. Marie. We have to take them to Harbor Hall. We have to take them to Sunrise Center in Alpena. We take them down to Grand Rapids. So a one-way trip is 3 hours. So a round trip is all day long for my staff. There are only 3.4 of us. And females have to transport females and males have to transport males for safety and all different kinds of reasons. So if we have a male gone, we have to take someone and they're gone all day. In a week, if we have a male and a female that has to go, that takes 2 of my staff members. That's just something in the last year and a half that's changed. And so in the last, since January, we have had 36 people that have had to be transported. So roughly 72 people that are going to be transported throughout this year to treatment that we have to take them places. Our first thing that we do when we have somebody that needs to go somewhere is we try to get them to have a family member or friend take them. We deal with clientele that often doesn't have that support, and we want them to get treatment, so we take them anyway. So it has just drastically reduced what we can do. We're doing it all, but my staff is so taxed and overworked and constantly chaotic and busy all the time, and so that is primarily why I'm asking for this, just so that we can keep up with the work that we've been doing. What it will also enable us, though, is the in-home breathalyzers that we do now, we only primarily do them for those that are on probation in district court. The judges are asking us, and the magistrates in the 3 counties are asking us to now start providing those breathalyzers for folks on bond. It will increase our revenue. So we're going to use the revenue to pay for it, but it'll also increase our revenues. So that is what I'm asking for today.
Commissioner Wheelock.
Madam Chairman, I would move to amend the staffing plan for the Community Corrections to increase that person from .4 FTEs to a full-time position.
Is there support?
Second.
We have a motion, support. Dean, do you have any comments?
I should, and I do. When the court asked me to take a look at this, and Sharice and I met earlier in the week, we wanted to make sure that you had some confidence that we could sustain this additional cost with the fee revenues that were just mentioned. And you can do that. In this fund, this is a fund that stands alone.
Okay.
The county board does appropriate funds to this, though, but the county appropriation has been decreasing because of the increase in the revenues. And looking back, actually for the last 4 years, the increase in fund balance with reduced county appropriations would more than sustain this position going forward. So,
thank you. All right. Commissioner Wheelock.
A couple months ago, I had opportunity to explain to you about a report that was at the Community Corrections Board on which I represent you. And we talked about the new technology with the in-home PVTs and how efficient they were, and how the fact that Sharice can push a button on her cell phone and that person is mandated to have, what, 5 minutes or something like that?
They have 30 minutes.
30 minutes to blow, and if they fail, it automatically redoes, and by the time they fail about 3 times, the sheriff's deputy can be there to take them back to jail. You know, but we've increased the technologies, we've increased expanded our community corrections, basically to where we've saturated our local community, unfortunately, about how we can do these things. But I believe Captain Hall told me recently that if we did not have community corrections in the fashion that we have it, we'd have about another 214 people in our county jail. So, you know, we're dealing daily with a with a jail overcrowding population, and without our community corrections being as successful as it is, we'd be twice as bad as we are now, or 10 times as bad as we are now. So anything that we can do to enhance community corrections will help us control that jail population.
Commissioner Inman?
Just a couple. One item is that for people who are watching and in the audience, we're dealing now with item number 9F. And so we've moved that up, so that's fine.
Yes, we did.
And second of all, being the chairman of the State Community Corrections Board in Lansing for 3 governors in the past 16 years, I will tell you that we've seen a continued increase in community corrections advisory boards that use the same process and methods that we're using today, and continue to expand how we deal with alternative programs and generate more revenue. And this is just one case, one model that is really a showcase for everyone to look at around the state. So the more we do of this, as long as we've got the public's protection in mind and we've got the safeguards, this is the way to go.
Okay.
I do have one other, it just came to my mind. If in approving this, can you approve that I don't have to come back when Greg retires in July to fill the position? July 12th is his last day.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Is that fine?
Yeah.
All right.
Second agrees.
Okay. Commissioner Rennie?
I'd like to tell you I applaud these alternative sentencing ideas. I think it would help our jail situation dramatically. I also think it might help the people that would be incarcerated. Let them work, let them be active, productive, that sort of thing. One question I have for you, what is the total wage and benefit package for this position for 1 year?
Dean, do you want, I have that. or you
It's
can-
$77,560.
So it's an increase of $46,500
I saw that part.
from what Greg has.
Thanks, Dean.
Anyone else? All right. We'll have a vote, please. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Judge, do you want to,
Thanks to our leader here.
do you want to talk about this report?
He has to get home.
He has to get home.
The report speaks for itself.
Carol Stock, it's not anything that needs to be considered for the evening. Carol Stocking just wanted me to provide it for you. It is on the county's website, but she wanted you to have it in.
Thank you for the
Thank you for
update.
letting me
Thank you.
take cuts tonight. I know that's un-American. I do apologize for everybody I took cuts in front of. Thank you.
We're
Your Honor,
flexible.
With, on behalf of myself and the county board, our hopes and prayers are with you.
All right. Now we have items removed from the consent calendar. Commissioner Rennie?
Is anyone from COA here?
Yep.
I see you hiding back there.
Georgia Durga, Director, Commission on Aging, Grand Traverse. I didn't bring my tablet tonight because I don't have my report in front of me,
I
but
just have a general question
Okay.
for you about wait list
wait list.
and what you're trying to do about that.
We've been meeting,
I'm talking about lawn, I guess, in particular.
we've been meeting, the Commission on Aging Program Committee has met several extra times in the last 2 months to address that. We had a board meeting yesterday, and they just came up with a plan to address that chore wait list. I think it will take almost everyone off. We haven't worked out all the numbers yet, but the board approved spending some of our fund balance for a portion of this year and then budgeting a portion of our fund balance for next year to address the chore wait list, and then also to put some money in reserves in case there's wait lists that are established for any of the other services.
Are you pretty confident you'll be able to address this?
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. A lot of it's going to depend, we're going to bring our proposal back to you all, though, once it's made approved by the county, or the Commission on Aging Board, and they want some more details, but once they have more details, then we'll be bringing that to you for approval, because it will involve, we're looking at hiring some seasonal employees, temporary seasonal employees, so we would need your approval to do that. And we're also looking at increasing our field staff currently work 37.5-hour weeks. We're going to ask for approval to bump those up to 40 hours per week. So
And
that
we're
will
going to
take,
do some contracting.
yeah, through
Commissioner
vouchers.
Lemko?
When you say you're going to take money out of your fund balance, is that going to put you below the minimum fund balance that was established?
Not this year, but it might next year, so that's one of the reasons why we would have to come back to you. I think some people have felt that our fund balance is too high, and we have a wait list, so we want to use that money to address our wait list and bring that fund balance down and use it for our client services.
I was going to talk about this during committee reports, but
We've actually spent a lot of
What can I
time
tell you?
on it, and there's a lot of controversy among our board and staff about what was the best way. It wasn't addressing the wait list, it was the best way to address the wait list and the most economical and effective way to do it. And so we think that we've come up with a two-pronged plan and test which way works better. So,
we are experimenting and taking risk.
yep.
And we'll have some results to see what works the best. Commissioner Rennie?
Yeah, I'm sorry, George, I had one other question on your senior center renovation. What started out at $500,000 is now $1 million. What's happening?
I can't specifically speak to that, other than I think when they did the initial quote, maybe more than a year ago, so I think some costs have gone up. The other thing is, I think when they did the estimate, they didn't include any of the internal things like furnishings or kitchen, like they're going to need kitchen equipment, stove, dishwasher, refrigerator, commercial grade, because they wanted, and this will go through a health department approval, but they want to be I don't know what the term is, semi-commercial or something.
Certified kitchen?
Yeah, but they don't want to be full-blown, but I don't know the terminology. And so they need special equipment. They're going to need, furnishings. So I don't think that was included in the first estimate. So after we started talking about that, their estimate went up.
Are there any other areas you haven't added into this yet that you're aware of?
Any more, into the cost?
That would add cost to it?
I think they estimated high, so I hope not. They do have right now a little over $200,000 set aside with the city, and they have a committee called the Friends of the Senior Center that are going to be doing the fundraising. They don't plan on using any tax dollars. They're going to fundraise from the private sector.
Excellent. Thanks.
Yep.
All right, any other questions for Georgia? Okay.
Madam Chairman, I would move to accept the Commission on Aging report.
Is there support?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Georgia, one thing, Lori had sent me an email asking me to meet with her about how to draw the contracts for the bidding, and I'm not trying to blow her off, I just flat haven't had any time recently, but will you please tell her that I'm certainly interested in helping with that. I just have to get a few things under control in my world first.
That's part of the wait list thing, and I told her that this is probably her high season, so, but I'll let her know.
Thank you.
Okay, on to department and other action items. COA home chore truck.
Are you going to the Central 9A? Are you going to 9A now?
Yeah.
Central Dispatch.
Have I got a different?
You must.
I think so.
I do. I've got last month's.
Oh, Chairman.
What?
Do we have an extra one sitting outside?
She'll get to it.
wonderful?
Yeah.
Central Dispatch lease agreement with COLI.
Hang on here.
Jamel, would you like to explain this process?
Sure. We were approached by a gentleman who was interested in leasing some space on Central Tower, and we looked into his proposal, had it reviewed by Chris Forsyth, and Dean worked with Jason and had MMRMA look at it. It will not impact any of our operations and will provide a little bit of revenue to us. And so we are requesting approval of that.
Dr. Lathrop?
I make a motion that we allow this
Lease agreement?
lease agreement, yeah.
Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Rennie. Discussion. Commissioner Wheelock?
Mel, have we allowed private companies to be on our public tower in the past?
No, we have not.
We have public infrastructure on private towers, but I don't know that we've ever allowed private enterprises to operate on county property, right?
Right, we've looked at it before and considered leasing some space, but it really hasn't worked out. We haven't found the right fit. This is a very small operation, and it seems like a good place to start, at least. I mean, obviously, if it jeopardized anything that we were doing, we couldn't do it, but it doesn't, and it's a little money.
Commissioner Lemko?
Has Mr. Cooney looked at the lease agreement? And then also, this is a policy change, and I'm not so, you know, I'm not uncomfortable with it, but I'm questioning whether or not, you know, we need to have more discussion on this particular policy.
Is it a policy?
Well, that's, if you're looking to put private on public, that's a policy change.
That being said, we do have, I believe we have cell phone towers on top of light towers at Civic Center.
We do.
I guess it's my recollection, we don't have a board-approved policy on this issue. It may be, have been our ongoing practice, but I certainly think that, I don't think that we need to deal with this as a policy issue. I think we just need to deal with it as, is this the right thing to do?
All righty. Mr. Cooney, have you looked at the contract?
I looked at it just briefly, but it was reviewed extensively by Chris Forsythe.
Okay.
Mr. Bender.
Dave?
I haven't heard anything about this, and kind of surprised by that, actually. However, I do want to know, not that I need to know these things unless, you know, maybe all the questions have been answered. One of those questions would be, are we asking a competitive price for the location of this on our tower?
Yes, we did research that and look to see what would compare with that, and it would be a fair price. It was like $400, I think. Yeah, $400 a month for what they were asking for.
I mean, it seems fair. I just wanted to know if somebody checked into it and
yes,
that's the going rate, or if another company came in, they'd go, boy, I'd love that deal. Oh, you don't have any more room?
No.
Okay.
No, it was competitive with what he would have gotten somewhere else, or what someone else would ask for that space.
I've dealt with this several times in my career, and it's like Verizon and Nextel and all those AT&T are always looking to locate on these towers, especially the high ones like yours.
Yeah.
They really want a spot on that tower, and usually there's not enough room for them.
Fortunately, or unfortunately, I guess, he only needs a small piece of equipment at 160 feet, which is much lower than would benefit most companies, but it serves the purpose that he needs, and so it will work.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm just going to speak for myself. I'm a little uncomfortable approving this lease agreement, Jamel, if our administrator hasn't had a chance to look at it and talk to you about it. Can we move this off to next week?
We can approve it and pull it at the end of the month, too, because this is going to go to the consent calendar.
That would be fine.
For the Board of Commissioners.
That would be fine with me.
Okay. All right. We have a motion on the floor to approve it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mel,
Jamel.
do you happen to know, did they get the inspection done on the Gray Road Tower yet?
I don't think so. But I don't know for sure if it's been done.
Thank you.
I'll find out and let you know.
All right. Next on the agenda, planning and development. Now that I have the right month in front of me.
You're welcome, Madam Chairman.
Jeez. I thought it looked awfully familiar.
Well, good evening. John Syke, the Grand Traverse County Planning Director. Before I start
start on my item, I just want to mention to Commissioner Wheelock that that inspection has been done for Gray Road Tower. So, what I'm here to do tonight is to present with you a concept to enter into an agreement with Homestretch for some administration related to some housing grants. My memo, since it was presented to you, there's been some additional information provided, so I want to supplement that as I present an overview of the background on this particular issue. Excuse me. Homestretch is a nonprofit housing corporation that you may be familiar with. They are one of the developers for the Depot neighborhood in the city of Traverse City. They are half of that project, where Habitat is planning to build 10 homes. Homestretch is planning to build 11 single-family homes on that particular site. We're actually, the county Land Bank Authority is a funding partner with others that are involved in this particular project. We provided $195,000 in grant funds through our HUD Community Challenge Planning Grant. We also provided a $100,000 loan from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for infrastructure activities related to the site. Specifically, one of the challenges here recently for that particular project was the Michigan State Housing Development Authority did not renew a $300,000 development grant for that site. The MSHDA has been concerned with the capacity of Homestretch and has at this point feel that they are a non-performing entity and are basically non-compliant to the grants that have been afforded to them from MSHDA. And this is where I need to add a little bit more additional information to this. MSHDA is also concerned regarding there's three other grants added to this. There's what's called a CHOTO grant, which is essentially an administrative grant assigned to offset administrative costs associated with the development of the Depot project. There's also a grant associated with, in the village of Kingsley for a transfer of community land trust properties to fee simple properties. And then there's a fourth grant, which is a development grant in the village of Honor, where there was 3 lots that were purchased. One was developed as a single-family home. The other 2 remain vacant and are for sale by Homestretch at this time. That particular grant there's been an agreement for repayment of that grant back to MSHDA. Recently, MSHDA approached our department as potential third-party administrator for these all 4 grants. MSHDA, we've worked with MSHDA obviously through the county's Community Development Block Grant Housing Program. We're familiar with a lot of MSHDA's policies and procedures. They've also recognized that they felt that we had the capacity and the expertise to successfully manage these particular grants. What we would be considering, or what we're asking for your consideration this evening, is that there be an agreement between the Grand Traverse County and Homestretch that would put the county in a position of an administrative agent on behalf of Homestretch. This is a situation where the county would have full administrative responsibility for these particular grants. The agreements between Homestretch and MSHDA would not be reassigned. They would stay with Homestretch. That would make Homestretch still the fiduciary responsibility with them. As the grant administrator, it would be our intent is to see the continued oversight of the development of the Depot project. The MSHDA grants are not the only, in our grants, and loan is not the only funds afforded to this project. There are other grants and so forth that are involved in that project that would need to have oversight as well. Some of the concerns that we had in this particular arrangement is that we would most likely need some assistance in terms of our capacity to perform our role. That would be something that we would seek probably a contractual arrangement with 1 or more individuals. That would be something that we would seek funding through the administrative grants that are or administrative portions of those grants. There's also something that we would, in terms of any of the agreement, we would need to make sure there's clarification as to what the responsibilities of each party are. Also, we're a bit concerned, if you may have recalled when the county adopted the housing strategy last year, that there was mention about improving the capacity of our nonprofit housing corporations in our community. And so we really see that, so we kind of were aware that Homestretch was getting into a situation where their capacity was being stretched a bit. And so it was identified in that strategy is that there needed to be something done with that. I think we're at a crossroads here in terms of an opportunity to not only get the depot project moving forward again, but also to really look at the capacity of Homestretch and trying to get them in a position where they can be much more stronger in terms of meeting the goals of our community in terms of housing. What we're presenting here this evening is just for your consideration for the concept. There is a very tight timeline that would be considered if you wanted to move forward with this. One of the reasons is trying to get, obviously, activity from the Homestretch part of that project has stalled at this time. Trying to take advantage of the construction season would mean to try to get this back moving forward as soon as possible. An agreement would have to be drafted. We have reached out to Chris Forsyth to see about assisting us with the development of that agreement, and he would be available. That agreement would have to be approved by this board and the Homestretch board. We're suggesting if that were to be happening, it would be done at your June 25th meeting. The reason being is that there is another round of grant opportunity with MSHDA starting July 1st. Basically, it would be a resubmittal by Homestretch, of which we would be providing those administrative services to MSHDA. It would be the same grant application that they recently submitted. The difference would be that there would have to be a presentation to MSHDA that there's an administrative agent agreement executed between Homestretch and the county. We don't know for certain if MSHDA will fund that, but my thought is that if they were funded this project initially, they did not renew it because of what they felt was a lack of capacity and performance by Homestretch. With our role, hopefully that void would be filled and that the grant would be approved and we could move the project forward.
Okay, Commissioner Wheelock, Commissioner Inman, and then Commissioner Lemkool.
Madam Chairman, I would move forward with a agreement between Grand Traverse County and Homestretch for the administration of MSHDA grant monies or other grant funds that come to enhance affordable housing in our community.
Support.
Commissioner Inman.
John, if you could please clarify for me, my first impression was this was an effort on our part to assist them on this one project at the depot property to be this fiscal agent or this administrative thing that we would have to pick up. And the term of that would be upon the completion of the project. Is that my understanding? And then they would take over that. So it would just be during the construction and the whole development phase. And I guess that's the first question. The second question I would have is, are you trying to imply that this is probably going to be, you're asking for a permanent situation where we're going to be the permanent administrative agent for Homestretch on other projects?
That's what it says.
No.
Okay.
In terms of your first one, yes. When our initial approach from MSHDA was our understanding it would be just for the depot project.
Okay.
But that, after further discussions with them, they brought in the other grants. There's the one in Kingsley and the one in Honor, which we would hope that wouldn't take long to eventually close those out.
Okay.
Those are in transition to get to that point to close out. In terms of the term, we would hope that, well, it'd be our expectation that this agreement would end once that all those grants are closed out.
Okay.
We have no intention to stay in this in a permanent situation. My guess is most likely the development grant related to the depot project would have probably the longest term in terms of the closeout for all of the 4 grants. Our thought is that we would, at that point, then the agreement between us and Homestretch would cease. We do see this, though, as an opportunity for and other discussions to see about building up the capacity, and I think that's something that we could do at this time in working with Homestretch organization, the board, and so forth.
Just one further question, if I could. So in terms of the recapturing of cost on our part for what you've indicated as additional assistance that would be necessary to do this function, would we be pulling those sources from their administrative piece on the grant?
Yes.
And so that would be, we would be able to get that administrative portion off the grant to cover those costs?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I think
all right.
that's what we want to, we don't have extra resources to put to this. It would be our expectation that the administrative part of those grants would cover those costs.
Commissioner Lemkohl.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we look forward to do this kind of a project, but I'm looking forward to the agreement as to what's going to be drafted, so we can actually see what's in the process. This is only a go ahead and draft the agreement and then bring it back to us. So, I will vote for it.
Dr. Lathrop.
So I just want to reiterate, we're not going to be using county employees to do this. It's going to be paid, someone else is going to do the work, we're just going to supervise it?
Not necessarily. Not
Not necessarily. I mean, there will be time commitments involved from county staff as part of this.
Do you anticipate a bunch of time? I mean, what do you think?
Well, we can't afford a lot of time, and I guess that's one of the negotiation parts that we're going to have to work out in the development of that agreement.
Okay.
I don't have quite the full answer for you at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Rennie?
I have a question for you. Explain what this Homestretch nonprofit housing corporation is all about, and how is it affiliated with the county? And why did we get in this situation? We had this thing on Pine Street where we have some issues with developers, and we've approved some brownfield grant money and stuff. Are there enough due diligence going on before we get into this stuff, you think, John?
Well, just to be clear, this Homestretch is a nonprofit housing corporation. They have no affiliation with Grand Traverse County. They were set up, I believe, 15 years or so ago by Rotary Charities. It's common for many communities to have an entity like this, particularly in the larger urban areas. They are often doing development projects for affordable housing and are doing it in a way where they're typically utilizing public funding as well as other funding sources. So they have had many projects with MISHDA in the past, and as well as using other funding sources for those private sources, foundations, et cetera. Really, I think in terms of where that model has gone, there's been some changes that have happened that have probably, it's not easy to operate a nonprofit housing corporation, particularly in the economic condition that Michigan has been in the last few years. But we really haven't had any relationship with them up until just recently. The Land Bank Authority did work with them on a few projects, and this being one of them. We feel that they're actually a very needed organization in Grand Traverse County. I think they provide great opportunity for addressing the affordable housing challenge in this community. I think we'd like to see them take it up a notch. I think they have opportunities to partner with private developers to achieve affordable housing. I think we were approached why you have this in front of you is because MISHDA wants to see this project move forward. They've obviously put monies into it. They thought it was a good project. Homestretch has been struggling, so they're looking for somebody else to take that administrative role on, and they look to us because they've seen that we're capable of doing it and would most likely complete the project according to how they see it. So it's not something that we want to ever see again. It's something that we're realizing that the project's important enough. We obviously put resources to it, thought it was important enough, and we want to see it done right.
Who would oversee this reorganization?
Well, we've had some small conversations, county staff with city staff. I know Commissioner Lemkool and the mayor may have been having some discussions as well regarding the idea of a task force. That was something that we really see as kind of a separate issue than this. What we're presenting here tonight is more about getting these grants done, getting the projects done, but we feel that the timing is right for having a larger regional discussion, just as the mayor mentioned earlier. We thought that that would be a discussion where representatives from this board and other bodies in our community to talk about this issue. Personally, I think it's one of those areas that we've been very much aware of the affordable housing challenge in our community. We've done a lot of studies, we've done a lot of plans, all that's in place. I think probably the part that we could use a little bit more at this time is some leadership in terms of some really direction in making some very specific decisions in terms of how we structure ourselves. And that includes hopefully the reorganization and restructure of Homestretch, as well as aligning them better with community goals, the goals of the county, the city, the townships, and so forth. So we really see that task force as being the kind of mechanism to really have that discussion.
So it would be a collaborative effort then?
Absolutely.
Okay, that sounds good.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Having sat on the land bank and the housing task force and part of the original housing, the whole housing fund, affordable housing fund that the county established, and the housing trust fund, that's what we call it. Anyway, the first thing I need to point out is the depot project. There are 3 partners in this project: Homestretch, Habitat for Humanity, and Grand Traverse County. Your Land Bank Authority and the Housing Task Force pledged $295,000 toward the purchase of the property and infrastructure developments of that project. That's almost the same kind of amount of money that either one of the other 2 partners are putting in. So, you know, this has always been a partnership. Having been around the block a while, I've been probably verbal on at least 1 or 2 occasions about being disappointed with the nonprofit partners that we have to work with. You know, and we can go back, 10 years basically and talk about, specific issues. I've talked repeatedly about the opportunities to deal with for-profit developers as a partner, where, there's an affordable housing portion of a project, but the developers can actually make a profit on part of it. The thing about it, and I talked about it a little bit last week at our Board of Commissioners meeting, one thing that you have to remember is MSHDA money and some of these grant funds have to be issued to nonprofit corporations. They cannot be issued to the Grand Traverse County, and they can't go to a private developer. So in order to make those types of grant monies available for these affordable housing projects, we have to have a partnership with these nonprofit organizations. I think the very first thing and the most important piece of this is to enhance their administration, because we just truly have floundered in the water way too long. We did groundbreaking for the depot project, last May? And there was not a shovel put in the ground until spring of this year. When the groundbreaking was held, they had said that Homestretch would have 5 units occupied by the end of the year. Did not happen. They didn't even get a shovel in the ground. They've just struggled trying to move forward with their projects. I think their development plans were okay, but they just can't get the ball moving. And I think the administration piece is a big part of that. That being said, they also have an issue. Their executive director recently retired. So now they don't have that leadership, and I don't know where they're at with the search for a new director or where they're going to be. Their board has some issues on how they're going to handle that, is my understanding. So I think it's important that we affirm Grand Traverse County's commitment to help develop affordable housing in our community. And the one thing that I've always complained about is I want affordable housing available in our community. Not just in Traverse City, but we need affordable housing in Kingsley, Mayfield, Fife Lake, We were fortunate a year and a half ago, we actually received grant monies from MISTA for a project in Kingsley and one in the village of Fife Lake. You know, absolutely unheard of that rural communities will see MISTA affordable housing money, but Grand Traverse County, because of its leadership, has been able to do that. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to expand on that leadership and make a difference with providing affordable housing in our community.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the concept of an agreement between the county and Homestretch. Commissioner Rennie?
Yeah, I just had one more question for John. Do
Certainly.
you think this agreement will restore Homestretch's standing with MISTA?
I think the leadership, I think the role of the county, if we step in here, certainly, we have a very good relationship with MISTA. I mean, they wouldn't come to us if we didn't. I think we have to be careful, though, on how we speak of our partners like MISTA and the MEDC and so forth. I think we got to remember that we're really working for the same goals. I mean, they're looking at it from a state level, but we're working here at the local level. I think ultimately it will. I think that's one of our goals in here. It may not be stated, but certainly we want to improve the relationship between this community and our partners in Lansing. Thanks.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next on the agenda, Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office, corrections vacancy. Sheriff,
Thank
welcome.
you. Tom Bensley, Grand Traverse County Sheriff. With the hiring freeze changed to a hiring delay, we can't do anything until we come to the board. And on July 14th, we will have a vacancy in the Corrections Division. Ellen Clifford is moving to Florida. So we're here tonight very simply to ask to be able to fill that vacancy.
Madam Chairman? I'd like to make a motion that the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office be authorized and to approve the hiring of the vacancy that they've been noticed on.
Moved by Commissioner Inman, supported by Commissioner Thomas. Discussion?
Obviously, our jail is full. We need every corrections officer in the jail that we can have today.
Commissioner Rennie?
That's okay.
Okay. Herb?
How's your officer doing that was hit on the bicycle?
He's okay. He's off work. The bad guy was caught by our officer a short time later, which is always good. I phoned him, left him a message. He called me back. He's sore. The road rash is starting to scab over and heal up. And I don't know how long he's going to be off, but he is not there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Just
he's
tell him
moving a little slow.
We were thinking about him.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you. Yeah.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One other item, if I can squeeze this in.
Go
You asked
ahead.
about the, I'm sorry?
I said go ahead.
Oh, thank you. You asked about the staffing in the jail. Obviously, Deputy Balevich is not there. We have Deputy Grant, is on military leave from March until August of this year. Deputy Kohler is on medical leave until July of this year. She'll come back in light duty, which is okay. And with this, so that's 3 people that are not working there right now. In addition to Deputy Martin, he's on light duty, but he is working there. So those light duty positions are easily filled in our control room. So in the Corrections Division, we're short 3 people right now. And earlier, Commissioner Inman asked, well, how do you fill those spots? Overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, as of right now, we have 4 vacancies in the Law Enforcement Division. Now, 2 of them have been since November. 2 occurred this past month. However, the first of 3 replacements starts tomorrow. However, he's not going to be on his own until the end of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
This is our busy time of year. So we have 3 vacancies. 3 of those 4 that'll be filled. we asked the board and were granted the opportunity to go out and ask for additional applications to fill the 4th spot, and we expect a 5th one to occur within a couple of months. One of our officers is leaving. So our hands, and I'm not asking for more employees, not asking for more people, but with all these vacancies occurring, we are so far behind the curve that we don't think we'll ever get caught up. I would like you to consider allowing us to just accept applications. Currently, we can't even accept applications unless we get permission when we have a vacancy. So just accept applications and let us establish a hiring list. A hiring list, not hire anybody, just get people kind of lined up. Because that's a long process.
It is.
When you take applications, you review the applications, they take a written test, they take a physical test, then some interviews, and we get a lot of applicants. Most don't meet the qualifications. People just submit applications.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a long process. The jail is ahead of the curve right now because we're doing a background check on a person to fill this vacancy. However, that won't be accomplished prior to Deputy Clifford leaving. So I don't know what Jen Seaman might have to say about that. I spoke a little bit with Mr. Benda today. So we have all these, we're so far behind the curve, we're just trying to get ahead of it. Not hiring people, just getting out applications, just getting the process moving ahead if we need that. And we've been struggling with these vacancies for some time. I think it bothers me more than some of the staff. But when we don't have 4 out of 24 county-funded deputies, that's a reduction in what we can do. That's 16%. So when this occurs, and this isn't the first time we've had several vacancies, we question, okay, can we put 2 people? Can we keep those 2 people in the Traverse Narcotics team? Because those come from those 24. Can we keep those 2 school liaison officers or school resource officers out there? We need people to answer calls. We need people in the marked patrol cars for several reasons. Answer the calls, officer safety, and making sure that we're able to take care of the business we have to do. We don't have to fund TNT. We don't have to put people there. We don't have to do school resource officers. But when somebody calls and asks for help, we have to go. So we're just trying to figure out some way we can be ahead of this curve. And one way would be to have a list. Just have that list. And we got a vacancy, we call that person. If they're not working someplace else or they're not available, we go to the number 2 guy to kind of establish that list. But now every time we want to do something, because of the freeze, because of the delay.
I hear you have a juggling problem. Commissioner Inman.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion for the remaining part of this year that the Sheriff's Department is allowed, as they are noticed for vacancies, both in the Corrections Division and in the Road Patrol Division, to seek applicants in a qualification process list for those expected positions.
Dr. Lathrop?
I'll second.
Discussion. Commissioner Rennie?
I'd like to hear what the HR director says about this idea.
Jen? If you wouldn't mind, please?
I have a point of clarification, too.
Certainly.
This is not an agenda item, so therefore we need to approve to be able to put this as an agenda item before we make a vote.
Great point.
That's fair.
All right. Jen, go ahead.
I don't have a problem with my office assisting the sheriff to fill the positions as they come vacant. There is quite an extensive background check that is done on the officers, and so that also takes a great deal of time. If that's what you wish to do, we can certainly assist with those efforts.
Okay.
Is that?
Madam Chairman, I'll move to amend the agenda to allow the Sheriff's Department to add the issue of departmental vacancies on the agenda.
I'll second.
supported by Dr. Lathrop. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
If you would allow my second motion, as it was previously stated, that would be fine, or I could
Bonnie,
restate it.
Bonnie, did you get Larry's motion? Okay. We pretty much know what it is.
All right.
Dave?
Clarification, for the remaining part of the year is what you said.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Till the end of September.
Till
Till the
or-
end of December.
To December, okay.
All right. Commissioner Wheelock?
The only comment that I would make is because of the fact that universities and colleges are graduating right now, people that are completing community or police academy type training, criminal justice certifications are all graduating. This may be the perfect opportunity for us to start to compile a list of qualified candidates. You know, I have a stack of applications on my desk every day, you know, that you sort through them, and if you find one or two that you really want to even look at, you're good, so.
Okay. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Health Department, staffing plan change request. Wendy?
Wendy Trout, Health Officer, Grand Traverse County Health Department. I also have with me tonight Jody Kelly, the Director of Maternal and Child Health, all the programs. You can come up. So we're here tonight to request a change to our staffing plan for the Children's Special Health Care Services Program. This program provides case management, insurance coverage, and referrals for specialty care, family-centered support, and coordination to children and adults that have special health care needs. There's a whole list of diagnoses that qualify for this. We currently have this staffed with a full-time nurse and a part-time clerical support, and maintain a caseload of about 300 clients. Each client qualifies for 1 annual plan of encounter, 10 care coordination encounters, and 6 case management encounters. Our current staffing is not allowing us to meet the needs of this very vulnerable population. So we're coming tonight asking for an increase in a public health nurse of a 0.5 FTE. This will allow for additional plan of care, care coordination, and case management, and will generate billable revenue of $28,000. We are also requesting to utilize restricted children's special health care funds, which have been sitting idle in a fund for many years. They were donated to the health department, and Dean has a lot more history on that. That was well before my time. And the result would also reduce the county appropriations or our fund balance dollars, which have been utilized to support the program, about $10,000. So we submitted a budget for it, and the net effect is that we would utilize about $18,858 from this restricted fund. That's about 8.3% of the fund. It's well within the spirit of what the donors intended this to be for. Initially, we had planned to earn interest income and use that money to address the unmet needs. And in the first year, it generated $10,000 of interest, and in the years following, it dropped down to $200, which at that point, it's not really serving the purpose that we had. So we would like to utilize these funds and increase our public health nursing staff in this program by a 0.5 FTE.
Commissioner Lemko?
I'll make a motion to increase the public health nurse staffing children's special health care services by 1/2 FTE to help accommodate the unmet needs of programs.
Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Wheelock. Discussion. Dr. Lathrop?
So this will be within your budget using these special funds?
I'm just trying to interpret what you mean by within
Well,
our
I mean,
budget.
Will this cost the county extra money?
No, it actually reduce what you give to us by $9,885. So
And is
we're-
it sustainable?
The way we have it budgeted right now, it would be sustainable for 10 years. If you chose to keep the county funding, so we didn't reduce by the 9,000, it probably would stretch out to 15 to 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Rennie?
Are there any issues with these trusts with respect to taking it and using the money this way?
No. Not with this one.
Okay.
No.
Thanks.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. MSU Vacancy and Staffing Plan Amendment. Patrick?
Good evening, Patrick Cudney, District Coordinator, Michigan State University Extension. I also have with me this evening Jenny McKellar, our Office Manager at the MSU Extension Office. We are also here this evening, in accordance with the hiring delay policy, to request permission to fill a vacant position. Just recently, we were notified that a long-term employee, Pat Swanson, our 4-H secretary for the past 23 years, has retired. With the amount of accrued time that she has, she is still effectively employed until June 16th, but not working in the office. There's a vacancy in the office. We would like to fill this position as soon as possible to decrease the impact on the public, on the community, and folks within our office, our program staff that rely on those positions. It is the only support position we have in our County MSU Extension Office outside of our office manager position that Jenny McKellar assumes. The position has traditionally been a 37.5-hour-a-week position. We are asking that the new position be increased to 40 hours a week. That assists us in keeping our office hours a full 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. We've been able to do that. It's difficult at times with only 2 support staff positions, but it would, I think it's a strong commitment of our office to remain open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and other hours by appointment, but having the new position at 40 hours a week would do so. This is not a new position. This is a refill of a vacancy. Even increasing the hours to 40 hours a week from 37.5 will still equate to a cost savings in our county budget because the individual had been employed for 23 years. Someone coming in at a new step 1 level with a similar benefits package will save us about $9,000 or save the county budget about $9,000. If someone does come in that's already a step 6 level, an existing employee makes the application, we end up hiring that individual, it's still going to be very close or a little bit less than the current cost we have budgeted for the position.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Inman, supported by Dr. Lathrop. Commissioner Lemkool.
At one time, we talked about whether or not we wanted to continue having these as county employees or whether or not they should be MSU Extension employees, as to whether or not we should be doing that kind of stuff. Is this an opportunity for us to be looking at how these staffing changes are taking place and who pays for it and why? I'm just asking.
It's a very fair question, and I appreciate you asking that. For the cost of a county employee with Grand Traverse County, it is less than it would be to hire a university-employed clerical support position at a similar level. It is cost-effective for us to hire these positions as county employees. That's why the majority, all of the counties in my district have county employed support staff positions. We do have some counties in our more urban areas of the state that they have moved those positions over into university employees. I don't want to pretend that I know why. I do not look at or work with those budgets, but I would assume it would have been for some cost savings for the county. But that is not the case in this instance.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you. One additional question that we have for you is the time it takes to fill a position, it does take some time. And I did report that the individual is currently using up, I believe, what's left of their accrued time. So we still have one individual, Jenny McKellar, that's supporting the entire office and operation for a program staff of 10. You met our newest programmer tonight. Wondering if we could look at our budget, as long as we stay within budget parameters, and look at hiring a temp employee, even on a part-time basis. If we could explore that with Human Resources, does that require approval of the Board of Commissioners?
Jen?
I don't think so.
I apologize for putting you on the spot, Jen.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not the first
We do it all the time.
What's
Your,
new?
your question's a little easier. Previously, temporary employees did not have to be approved. However, with the hiring delay policy, the temporary employee is kind of contradictory to the hiring delay policy. So that's why I also, talked to Pat and said, might want to bring it up. So, because really filling in for a temp, there's no gap in paying.
I'll make a motion
Somebody.
to approve for a temporary employee.
I'll second.
All right, discussion,
Just
Commissioner Wheelock.
discussion, would we be better off just to back up a little bit and make the motion to hire the person effective immediately, and then they could start advertising tomorrow?
We can do that, too.
I think, Pat, well, I don't want to speak for
You
you,
thi-
I'm
there's
sorry.
a
I think you're
gap
looking
in
at the
there, is
time
what
period between it takes to post. We'll have to probably accept resumes for 2 weeks, and then you have to interview. It'll be 6 weeks to 8 weeks out, and I think that's the gap that they're looking at.
That is, yes,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay, and you have this in your budget?
That's the question. We will work within our budget. We will work
Okay.
with HR to determine the entire costs
All
of the
right.
position that has just retired and vacated. The costs, once we assume the new employee is hired at an average salary level, we're going to look at that difference. We will stay within our appropriated budget.
All right. Commissioner Inman?
That would be an arrangement with, for example, a temp employment agency that you see, I need help for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and I just send someone over, rather than just trying to hire somebody on a temporary basis.
I'll need to defer to Jen Seaman.
We could do either.
I mean, I would rather do the temp agency rather than hiring somebody in for a limited period of
Yeah.
time, but.
Depends on the job.
It depends. Right now, you might be able to get a student who's home from college break. So I would rather, I mean, I'm just tossing that idea out there. You might be able
True.
to get somebody, and then we could put them on as a temporary employee on our payroll versus putting them through a temp agency. The temp agency also has a 40% load on the wage, so they may get $10 an hour, but we really pay $14 an hour. So up to 15, so, you know, it kind of just depends there. And a temporary employee, like a student per se, would not be eligible for benefits depending on how long they're here.
Is this also a way we can get an AmeriCorps? Just a thought.
An AmeriCorps would be more difficult. AmeriCorps is a grant application process that, unless there are approved AmeriCorps that are already available, which at this point they're all assigned. We have AmeriCorps through Michigan State University, and they all are moved into their it's a year in advance they apply her.
just a question.
Good question.
All right.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
Chairman,
Yes.
who made the second on that?
That was Dr. Lathrop.
And that motion was to approve MSU to hire a temporary employee?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Skipping down to administration, Garfield Township Tax Appeal.
Okay, we had, you got a rather lengthy memo, which I apologize for, a two-page memo, but it had a lot of information in it. And we had a meeting with Garfield Township's assessor. The chairman was there, myself, Dean Bont, who else was it?
Jim was there.
Jim Baker and
Jim Baker and Catherine Wallace from our Equalization Department. And we listened to their,
Amy from Garfield, or did you mention her?
Yeah,
Okay,
she-
sorry.
and we reviewed the Garfield Township issues, and it seems like there's a very strong case here. It's an $11.4 million value in appeal. For the county general fund, that's about $57,000 a year. It's a significant number. And I go on to explain in great detail how this could open up, you know,
Can of worms.
a can of worms that, you know, every other taxing jurisdiction, and for fairness and consistency's sake, they would have every right to come in and say, you did it for them, you could do it
Yeah.
for us too, for every appeal, because technically, you lose money on every appeal if you just decide not to fight any of them. There is something, I was speaking with our equalization director after I wrote this memo. Actually, yesterday, we had a conversation at length about this, and he had a very good idea that, you know, the state has stepped in on this, and that might be the time that we want to step in as well. I mean, it's a significant item, but it's kind of limited to, if the state will step in and defend the case, then we'll step in and contribute on some basis. And then the question becomes, what basis do you submit? You know, I mean, a flat dollar amount, a percentage, I had suggested maybe a percentage of your taxable value to the total taxable value, or I'm sorry, your millage rate to the total millage rate for non-homestead, that non-homestead parcel. There are other things you could do. I mean, you know, split it with the township, do whatever, but none of this money is budgeted. We'd have to come up with money from contingency to do it, or we'd have, and if we were going to do it as a policy, we would have to start setting aside money probably in the equalization budget to contribute to tax appeals just about every year if we came up with, you know, unless we had some kind of limitation on the size and the types of cases we would get involved in.
Commissioner Inman.
Dave, back when Dennis Aloya was the administrator, I don't recall what year, but he had engaged, I think Chuck Horn, if I'm not correct, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, there was another situation in the past where we assisted Garfield Township with an appeal, I believe. And Mr. Bennett came in with I believe, a policy recommendation for the Board of Commissioners to approve, of which we did, that said if a value is exceeding X and a township wishes to appeal and request our assistance, then we would cost share that expense to a certain degree. So we have a standing resolution somewhere.
So you want me to, I can go find that.
You just got to find it. I don't know if Chuck could help us right now with what that other agreement was.
I thought it was East Bay.
Maybe it was.
Did have
I thought it was Garfield.
It was Garfield?
Yeah, I thought it was Garfield.
Just recently,
Dean,
we
what do you
decided
recall?
to help out in an East Bay, I believe, tax appeal, but we had, certainly with the city of Traverse City, we had been pledging that we would join the suit, or join the appeal, the defense of the appeal, and with the city, and the tax tribunal has rejected that, has rejected our efforts to join the appeal, and Bob may have something to say
Well,
about
if I could comment on that, and I wanted to correct one part of Dave's memo. What happened in that case is the tax tribunal refused to allow the county to enter as a party to the suit. But our agreement was that we would assist townships. I think that's what the resolution was.
in the city.
Providing legal assistance, we weren't even thinking about financial
Right.
assistance.
Right.
And the tax tribunal is not saying that we can't help out with legal assistance, research, drafting pleadings, even appearing in court. If Garfield Township wanted to hire Chris Forsythe to, or allow him to represent them in court, he could do that. It's just the county can't be an official party to the suit. So I don't think we're in any way restricted from assisting in providing that type of legal assistance.
Dr. Lathrop?
When we have numbers as big as this, I'd like to see us do this, but I would like us to work out, what threshold in which we would do it. For instance, the idea of having the state involved in it. And then secondly, some type of cap on how much we would spend. And then thirdly, maybe we get from you, if we get involved in this, how much would we have to set aside in the budget if we're going to do this?
Well, if you were going to do it for all tax appeals, one tax year, it might be $5,000 for the whole year. In other years, it might be $20,000. If you were to use a formula like the one I suggested. But if you have, if you decide a flat dollar amount, then the numbers change quite a bit. If you decide a percentage like 25% or 50% of the local unit's cost, then the numbers change again, and they get bigger, progressively bigger. Actually, it's a little help to do it on a percentage basis of our tax rate to the total tax rate. But, it's looking like it could be $25,000 as the local unit's share of this if we have to go through major appraisals of the mall property and other things. The defense cost is going to be paid for by the state of Michigan, which is a big, big plus. If we had a huge property that the state didn't want to step in on for whatever reason, sometimes political reasons, the local unit sometimes can't take them on, or if they do take them on, they're outmatched, they're outgunned big time.
Commissioner Thomas.
Well, over the history of the tribunal, the townships have never been able to do much fighting with the tribunal, because when somebody goes in with an appeal, these little townships, A, they probably don't have the money to fight it with, and B, they don't get any benefit out of it. The big beneficiary forever has always been the school district, and they won't join in. Maybe they can't, but they don't. But I think that we've had quite a few of them lately where the utilities file against some of the townships, and the utilities set their own, they tell you how much it's going to be, and then they appeal it. Well, these little townships can't fight it because they're only fighting over 1 mil or less anyway. So, I think that wherever we can help them, we should.
Commissioner Lemkool, then Commissioner Rennie.
I think this is a great opportunity for us to let the tax tribunal know that they're not the big player in this game. That we are going to support our local townships, we're going to support our local tax assessors, and we're going to make sure that this is going to be something that they're going to be heard. I don't necessarily think that this is going to cost us any money at this point, because it's only if they require us to do an appraisal. And so this could all be taken care of long before an appraisal is even done. So, and I think that this is telling the state of Michigan that we want to support our township. It's also saying to the mall, we're supporting our township, and we're also telling the township that we're supporting them.
Yep.
And I really think that this is a message that we're going to get out. The other thing I'd like to state is that Jim made the comment when we had our meeting that he does have small amount in his budget that's not being used, that could be used if we needed it. I think it's like 10,000 or 12,000 or something like that, if I remember correctly, Jim. Yeah. So so there's some money that's already in that budget that's not being spent. If we need to, it doesn't have to come out of general fund. It can be done that way. I'd like to see us come up with what a motion could be, what the recommendation is here. It doesn't give us really what a motion could be. I think that we need to craft that to some way so that it's been done. If we can kick that back to Dave and to maybe Bob or Chris to be able to develop a motion that we can support and bring it back at our meeting for next week, Wednesday, I think it'd be very important for us to do that. If everybody's in agreement that we want to go forward, then that's what I'd like to have us do.
Commissioner Rennie, then Commissioner Thomas.
Yeah, I have a point to make here. This is not a local problem. This is a statewide problem. That's why the Attorney General is getting involved in it. I think it's time for the state to handle this situation, not local units trying to do this. As far as the local unit helping them out, I believe they should be responsible for what their task is and what they're responsible for. We've got 16 units of government in this county, 2 villages, a city, and 13 townships. You're going to set the stage here for every one of them coming in here when they think they need something. You set a threshold or something like that, you're picking and choosing. We tried that with the cremation fee. As soon as we passed those special waivers, that was the end of it. I think we could let the state do this. I think we have Senator Walker, Wayne Schmidt, and people like that. We could issue a proclamation to the Attorney General, whoever, and say it's time for them to address this situation.
Commissioner Thomas.
Jim wanted to say something.
Jim, please.
Jim Baker, Equalization Director. And I just wanted to clarify the budget. There is $10,000 in our budget that is available, and it was for contract services. And typically what that meant in times past is that former equalization directors would hire contract studies. And because we have digested with our new staff and our new look and teamwork on things, we have digested all the studies in-house. And so that's the only reason that there is extra money there. It's not really a fund set aside for appeals, but I just wanted to make that clarification.
I'm going to look to our finance director, Mr. Byatt.
Well, I was glad that Dave and Jim talked, and two commissioners can confirm the fact that I too was concerned about setting a precedent here, as Dave mentions in his memo, and that's why I believe you need to set the bar real high when you establish the criteria. And I think this is the perfect case. The state's involved. That doesn't happen very often. You have Garfield Township that's willing to fund 25% of the cost, and based on the value or the tax revenue that the county stands to lose here, this is really one that kind of maybe establishes the bar, and that's very high at that level. You know, that's probably not where we would want to be on whatever, you know, criteria are established, but I guess that clearly indicates where I stand on this one. I think we should be in on this one.
In on this one. Commissioner Inman?
Madam Chairman, I guess I understand the comment about the separation of duties, but I think Grand Traverse County has had a long-standing practice and relationship with all the townships where we have very strong partnerships, and we work really close together on a lot of things on both sides for the benefit of all. And I think this is one of them that we really need to do to a certain extent. I'm not for opening the floodgate. I think we have to establish a criteria and live by the criteria. And I guess what I would suggest is that if Administrator Benda could go back and look at I think we had two situations where the board authorized the prosecutor's office and I think some general fund money up to a certain amount to defend certain cases of which we may have not used. But I'd like the administrator to go back and look at what we've done in the past and then come back with a recommendation, working with Bob Cooney and other staff members, Dean or whatever, and the township supervisors to see if we can come up with an established policy that we can live with moving forward. So whatever time that takes.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Well, I guess, you know, it's easy to sit here and say, well, it's the township's problem or it's the state's problem, but it's truly not. There's three pieces of tax assessments. The assessor at the township makes the assessment. Grand Traverse County's Equalization Department reviews all of those assessments and approves them. And then if you want to appeal it, you go to the state tax tribunal. So we are not just defending Garfield Township's assessment here. We are defending Grand Traverse County's Equalizations Department ratification of that assessment. So I think it's not, and the state does not have the ability to defend those assessments. They are not the assessing agent. The taxing entities are the townships and the counties, and the school districts and stuff here. It's not the state of Michigan that sets the assessment. You know, these assessments have been set by the Garfield Township assessor. They've been reviewed by Grand Traverse County's Equalization Department and deemed to be correct. Now, someone has the opportunity to appeal that. That's what they're doing at the tax tribunal. But I believe that we need to we need to defend not only Garfield Township's assessment, but the fact that Grand Traverse County ratified that assessment and determined it to be correct.
Dr. Lathrop?
How much money are we talking about, Dean, a year if these people win?
$57,000.
Well, just the county revenue loss would be, Dave has it, it's almost $57,000 a year.
A year.
Going forward.
Forevermore.
Right.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'd also like to make a comment that there are companies out there that are going to businesses and saying, we can help you to reduce your taxes. And they are out there promoting their business. And this is what's creating this. So they've gone to these malls, they've gone to the big box stores and said, you know what, we can win your tax appeal because nobody's going to fight against you, so therefore we're just going to do it.
And the townships cannot afford
They can't
to
afford
fight
to do it.
the
So,
tax tribunal.
now, do I have to make a motion to do this, or
No,
are
not
we
yet.
comfortable where we at?
Commissioner Rennie?
Everything you're saying says it's a state issue. It's not a township or a local issue in that sense. Now, Garfield Township is not a rural kind of a township. They're probably the most prosperous township in the county, I would say. And the fact that you look at a state issue where the Attorney General is now involved tells me they are getting hip to this problem. And we're setting a precedent, and I will say this, I will not support this with any limit. If it's good for Garfield, it's good for every unit of government in this county. I don't care what the number is.
No, that's what I was saying.
Mr. Benda?
Yeah, I mean, the system isn't fair. I mean, it's not fair that the assessing unit is the one that has to pay the entire bill for appealing or defending an appeal. I mean, but that's the way it is. That's the law.
Okay, we got to go by the law.
It would be really great if all the taxing jurisdictions supported it as a percentage of the total tax rate. I mean, it would make sense that the schools would kick in, the ISD would kick in, NMC would kick in, everybody would kick in a piece, and then we could fight them and decide. But at the start of any process, you would have to have that group, or whoever's going to put money in, listen to the assessor's argument and decide whether they're in or not. I mean, whether they should fight it or not. And we listened to Garfield's argument. It's a strong argument. We should not roll over on this one. So if you're looking, all I need from you is, if you're in agreement that we should do something to defend this or help defend this case, the question is how much? How much should we pay? Up to 50% of the local unit's cost. I mean, and there's ways to get portions of that.
I'm going to make a suggestion. First of all, I agree with our finance director. The bar, if we do this, needs to be set high so that not everybody comes and says, help me out. And I think that the fact that the Attorney General stepped in, I think that should be as part of the bar that has to be hit. Okay. I think for the most part, with the exception of Commissioner Rennie, the rest of us are receptive to doing something to help Garfield Township. What I would like from you, Mr. Benda, and from our finance director is a recommendation as to how much or what type of participation you feel is appropriate. And then I would like to have it brought back to RMNA. Commissioner Thomas?
I'd like to see it so it's not just for this Garfield case.
A policy.
I want it to be county policy.
Yeah.
We need to establish a policy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to table this item to RMA and ask that a staff
I'm sorry.
recommendation.
Yes.
And ask for a staff recommendation at that time.
I'll support.
Okay?
And
Now we have discussion.
Well, no, you table something, and if I'm correct, table
I'm saying,
kills the discussion, doesn't it?
No.
Take it off the table.
Take it off the table.
I'll
Mr.
revise my motion.
Mr. Korn wants to speak, so can we
Yeah.
take it off the table?
I'd be fine with that.
All right, we're taking it off the table. Mr. Korn. Then you can put it back on the table.
Yes.
God, I remembered something.
I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. One, Mr. Wheelock is right. We don't assess these properties alone. Equalization Department gives us a factor at the beginning of the assessment year, and they said you're going to assess your properties throughout the entire township by 8% more. Just a random number. Not a random number, it's something that they arrive at through a process of
Random
equalization.
sales comparison.
But at that point in time, we need to find, say if we're a $2 billion township, we need to find $16 million more of assessments. So we have to go out and find properties that we think it's appropriate to raise to get to the number that's been given to us by the county. So the county's very much involved, how much we put in. Where this all started was when real estate was in a free fall, and the state was going to allow us one time to use a one-year study instead of a two-year study. Because a one-year study would have indicated that instead of an add factor, there would be a subtract factor. And someone who's no longer with the county decided that we would use the two-year study. So instead of knocking points off, we had to add. And we put ourselves in an untenable position, and we were flooded with lawsuits. Most of them were easy to settle because we were so far off, we could say, well, look, we know this is where it really should be. And once they filed in court, we are able to negotiate a settlement. And there's, of course, it affected the county's budget. At that point in time, the county said, if you guys really want to fight one of these, let us know and we'll help. That's why we're here today.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I don't think you're going to see a flood.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to Lansing and argue in the tax tribunal. Like I said, the legal costs, the appraisals, sending your staff down to Lansing, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And for the mood in Lansing lately has been very anti-tax assessor. So it's not something that you really want to get into. But this is one of those cases where we think we are in the right and we should defend this end. Because again, you have asked us to come to you. We are here. Thank you.
Okay, now I would like to make a motion to defer this item of the Garfield Township tax appeal to RMA committee next Wednesday and ask staff for a recommendation.
Policy recommendation.
A policy recommendation on how to handle tax appeals.
Is there support? All right, we have support by Commissioner Lemkool. Further discussion? Roll call, please, Bonnie.
Lemkool?
Yep.
Rennie?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Inman?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes. All right. Do we have any unfinished business? I'm seeing none. New business?
Nope.
Second opportunity for public comment.
Interesting stuff.
Please step up and state your name.
Good evening. Matthew Scheck, 306 West 9th Street. I have a blog post here from a man I've admired for some time, Richard Rothschild. He is a county commissioner from the state of Maryland, and his blog post that he sent me it's called Why Good Elected Officials Go Bad. And he had some college students touring the county building, and they came up to him and they said, Commissioner Rothschild, would you encourage young college students to consider running for public office? No, I responded, unless they consider unless they consider following the Constitution. Second, can they handle not being liked? What do you mean, they asked. Well, I said, people that are amiable and have a strong need to be liked do not necessarily make good conservative elected officials. You see, everyone that comes before a governing body inevitably wants money for something that they deem important. Money for social programs, money for infrastructure, money for public safety, money for veterans, money for libraries, money for schools, etc., etc. Furthermore, in the world of government, special interests judge you based on whether or not you support their mission. And unfortunately, support is not measured by principles, nor is it measured by empathy. In the stark world of government, it is measured in dollars, akin to rats in a cage that learn to push a lever for a food pellet. Most newly elected officials quickly learn, and some appointed administrators, that they can buy accolades from members of various groups or unions simply by giving them what they want, money. They also learn they can buy support from the liberal media by supporting the same liberal causes embraced by the liberal media. In my 3 short years in office, I've witnessed this anomaly in action. Commissioner John Doe cares about education. He gives us money. Commissioner John Doe cares about our hardworking employees. He gives us money. Never mind that the increased spending levels today could force us to lay off 50 people next year if revenues fall short. Never mind that the fact that salary increases we give today could force us to raise taxes on struggling taxpayers next year. So here's the rub. People with a compulsive need to be liked do not know how to say no. They inevitably will allow spending and the size of government to trend upward. Of course, it would be unfair to place all the blame on elected officials. The same pernicious problems affect constituents. John Adams said, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people." The implications of this pronouncement are profound. Expedient citizens evaluate their officials by what they give them. Good and moral citizens evaluate their elected officials based on their adherence to sound principles. With every policy and every decision, each elected official and each constituent must decide what they value most, politics or principles. Last year, during a debate on funding, I received a revealing email from a teacher. It threatened, "Commissioner Rothschild, if you want to do what's best for your political career, you'll give us the extra funding we demand." I walked up to the podium and said, and this is his last comment, and read the email aloud to the audience. "I am now ready to respond to the email. You see, my job is not to do what is best for my political career. My job is to uphold the Constitution and manage this county in a fiscally responsible manner, and suffice it to say, the reason our country is buried in $16 trillion in debt, and the reason this county is buried in $300 million of debt is because politicians before me made great career decisions." The crowd jeered again, and an unidentifiable voice in the audience yelled, "What's debt?" Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please.
Matt Lundy, 3244 Pembroke Drive, Traverse City. I want to say thanks for your vote last week on rescinding the cremation fee. I have to say I wasn't expecting it, and I am very grateful for it. I actually just lost my great aunt. She was 103. She lived at the Pavilions for the last at least 12 or 13 years. So I'm very happy that my family's not burdened by that. Thank you so much.
Any other public comment? All right. Seeing none. Commissioner committee reports. Herb.
Yeah, I got a few here. Wendy Warren from the Conservation District has posted that they're looking for a finance and human resource coordinator at the Conservation District. So if somebody's interested, they can go on to their website and put their application in, naturescalling.org, about employment. Also, Robert Hall has sent out a notice for all of us about the National Institute of Corrections that'll be here next week. We have our meeting at 9 o'clock on the 10th here at the Chamber, so we'll be looking forward to that. And then another meeting, a wrap-up on the 12th, again, which is 9 o'clock, from 9 till 3 o'clock. That'll be an all-day event, so you might want to look at your calendars and clear them out for next week, so we can get that information about the jails. Also, Mac has got the information about the regional summits that are here, that are going on in northern Michigan. If any of the commissioners want to go to that, you have to get in touch with Sarah on that. And then I also got an email which is kind of concerning, disconcerting, about Inhabitable Home in Kingsley, and I think we all got that.
We did.
I'm not sure what we can do about that. I'm not sure if we can, or if we need to go after the health department. Maybe the health department looks at this. I don't know what the process is on that. So I just think that from what I could see, we should be doing, somebody should do something for it.
What?
It's an inhabitable home that they're talking about, how a landlord is not following rules and regulations, so I don't know. So I'm not sure what we can do.
Commissioner Inman.
Just want to let you know, I attended a Michigan Association of Counties meeting this morning. I drove down early this morning. Several things were reported. The first was that revenue sharing is moving forward, and I believe a done deal. There was a little celebration there, and the only covenant is that we have transparency in terms of what we do and place it on our website. So no other issues that are in the bill are going to be an issue, so it's going to be full funding for all counties throughout the state of Michigan. That is great news. Second one is that I brought up the discussion about us having a National Institute of Corrections coming in and looking at our jail situation. I found out that Alger County and the UP just is in a process of working with MAC on a grant through the Department of Treasury for $5 million to assist them in the building of their new jail. And we checked into it a little bit further and dug down, And what we found out was, and I just shared the information with the administrator before the meeting, is the Department of Treasury within the state of Michigan now has a two-cycle system for grants for counties to share resources. That means, for example, Elger County and another county are going to come together, and they're going to have an arrangement where they're going to outboard prisoners from one county and share one facility, so they're going to qualify for the grant. The other piece to the grant process for the jail is if your jail would allow prisoners from the Department of Corrections that are at a low level and to be incarcerated in your jail if you have space. That was another item that was an issue, that if you allowed to do that, you can get into the pool of money that they're going to have. So my understanding is the next pool of money that will be available to counties to apply for through MAC, through the Department of Treasury, is going to be about September of this year, and they believe it's going to be up to $7 million, and a county can apply for the full amount. Just a heads up.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Notices and announcements? Dr. Lathrop and then Commissioner
I don't know if
Rennie?
this should be in this category now, but I read the Record Eagle Department about the Twin Lakes Park and the fact that the swim buoys weren't put up and nothing was done. I know that I watched the meeting where the president of the Parks Board gave clear direction to the Parks Director to get this done. And I happen to agree with the Record Eagle that there's no excuse for this. And I just want to talk to the board about it. I think we should do something about that.
All right. Commissioner Rennie?
I had a question for Jamel. I know it's not a notice, but I didn't get it in earlier.
Jamel Anderson, Director of Grand Traverse 911.
Thanks. What will the surcharge be July 1?
Thank you.
The surcharge as of July 1st will go from the current 66 cents to 80 cents.
Okay, what happened to the surcharge request for capital improvements?
The 42 cents that the board submitted a resolution for was not approved by the state. And it was, there were 3 counties, I believe, that submitted requests for that, and all were denied.
What's our options? Do we just go ahead and do it?
No.
They have to levy it.
Yeah, the issue is that the surcharge is levied through the state.
It's a surcharge.
There's a once-a-year opportunity for the state 911 office to advise the telcos how much each county's surcharge is. And they are not going to collect the 42 cents.
So did they give another number?
Yeah, 0.
Oh, okay. So they didn't set anything?
No.
Okay.
They do not agree with the interpretation, right, of...
Now, you said something to me Monday that the Attorney General got involved in this?
Yes, one of the other counties involved had requested an opinion from the Attorney General several months ago. The Attorney General's office submitted I really am not sure how this works, an opinion, but it wasn't really an opinion, something to that effect, okay. And that was what the state 911 office based their action on.
Thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Wheelock?
Last week before, whatever, I told you that there would be a fundraiser for Deputy Amanda Kohler for her family's medical issues with their son. On Sunday, June 8th at 5 o'clock at the, I guess I call it the Interlochen Airport Park, but I'm guessing there's probably a name for it that Dick knows. There will be a softball tournament, there will be food available, and there will be a silent auction to help raise monies for the And anyone that could attend that would be appreciated or make donations.
Yeah.
June
And
8th.
I've already wrote a check to the Sheriff's Department
One
for
of
that.
the people who want to run.
Okay. Any need for a closed session?
No, ma'am.
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chairman.
We are gone.